Do you think it's fair for women to be upset with me when they are complicit with the eugenics system? I'm merely pointing it out. And in order for me to solve society's worst problems, most pressing problems, I have to take away, in truth, take away from the image of what they perceive to be the ideal types of men and women. Is it fair for those people who are the most guilty in this eugenic process and who benefit the most from it to be mad at me when I point out why they aren't as good as they pretend to be?
No, I think you
Speak louder.
I said no. I think you have a good argument. I think what you say rings truth.
So I have to attack them on their mind, body, soul, and spirit. This is the natural and logical scale of people. Wouldn't you agree?
I do indeed, yes.
All right. So when we look at women, is it fair to say when we look at a suitable helper for someone like me who is, would you say I'm handsome?
Yes.
Would you say I'm smart?
Yes.
Would you say I am profoundly spiritual?
Yes, I think all three on exceptional levels.
And would you say that I have the Spirit of God?
Yes.
Okay, so when we look at this thing, right, and I come from a good family, if that should factor in at all.
Yes, you do.
Okay, so when I say that because of their complicity with this eugenic system, which is responsible for my targeting and psychological operations historically. I mean, propaganda goes hand in hand with eugenics. Propaganda is a mechanism to maintain the eugenic reproductive cycles we see in America and in other Western countries that they're trying to impress upon the world. Would you say that's an accurate statement?
I would say that's an accurate statement.
So with all these things considered and the things that I talk about in my videos, do you think that any woman is good enough for me?
No, I don't.
And so when we look at the places we've been, right, you see these attractive women. Would you say that they believe that they are better than I am?
Yeah, because they think they're with a better man.
And their man happens to have an inferior body. He hasn't forged for God, worship, right? You see the ideas that connect there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I agree.
And then the mind, right? Their mind, just like Socrates said in their own culture, the pursuit of virtue is greater than the pursuit of wealth. And to truly pursue virtue, one must cultivate mind, body, soul, and spirit. Wouldn't you say?
I would. I did see attractive women look at you, and I saw athletic men look at you as well, white athletic men, young athletic men actually. And it was almost they found that you were a threat to them. I noticed how they looked at your chest and then they looked at your height and your face. And it was always almost like they found you kind of a threat. And the women, you could tell that they were attracted to you, but they were kind of like shunning you at the same time because they felt that they were with a man who was more powerful than you, in terms of material-wise assets.
And this helps to them feeling that way, that sentiment, which is placed in this proper context, in the ethos, ambiance, and atmosphere of that respective area, feeds into the reproductive cycle and operates as somewhat of a cult center. And when combined with all the other cultures in various cities, it creates the greater eugenic system, which does not allow somebody with a superior mind, body, and soul, regardless of race, keeping in mind that I'm mixed race, regardless of race, to take their rightful place. If you are adverse to the system, you are shunned. If you are black at all, they take special exception to that. And that's part of why they went out of their way to take sub-Saharan Africans as slaves. Any thoughts?
No, I think what you've explained is accurate.
Well, I think it is sad that in this society that women are telling each other to go date the biggest criminals that make life a bitch. When you are in a traffic jam, is it because God made the freeway? Did God make the car or did man? When you get ripped off at a store, who makes the laws that allowed for it? Who owns the corporations? When you analyze in great detail the reason why life is a bitch, certainly part of it is because the most attractive bitches date bitches and shun righteous men of God. What do you think?
Yeah, no, I think that's correct. I think attractive women do find you attractive, but unfortunately, they don't have the spirit to connect with you.
You see, do you see how this is related to the fact that the heart is the seat of intelligence? Have a heart. Have a heart, ladies. Consider the bigger picture. Have the heart to date the man with heart. Have the heart to do the right thing. Don't be a heartless, shallow coward. Have heart. Moral fortitude, moral conviction, moral will, moral perseverance. Not bitch-made, controlled opposition. I'm standing firm with all of my bitches. We have the advantage, but we're still tough. Have heart. Don't be a bossy, petty, shallow, modern harlot. I think these things need to be said to the extreme. Evil men don't just fall from the sky. The stork doesn't bring them in. It is your judgment, Western woman, that placed this patriarchy, as you call it, in charge of you, and then you whore yourselves so that you can have your bootlickers, cowards, pittance. I tell you the truth. The kingdom of heaven, compared to this bootlicker's pittance you have, in a predominantly Christian culture at that, testifies against you. Even if it was just an idea. The idea is most people are more wise and virtuous than you are in your own culture. And you don't think about this idea. They might be virtuous because they don't have the same obstacles that you have, but their behavior seems to reflect a higher vibrational, a higher form of living. They have more class than you. Certainly Saturn has won the day in terms of you cowardly harlots and you foolish little silly little men trying to make up for your lack of manhood with money. You are pathetic. It takes heart to get to the kingdom of heaven. And a rich person does not have it. He does not have compassion. He does not have love. He deals in trickery, treachery, shallowness, cowardice, and coerced sex. Drug-induced, psychological construct, benefiting type of sex. It is pathetic. I can't for the life of me imagine them pleasing a woman in her right mind. That's why all these whores have to be put in their wrong mind to believe that a sniveling, less than a pussy-ass boy type of pussy like you rich cowards could please them, or much less is pleasing them in bed. That takes one stupid bitch. That's why you see these dumb bitches, these dumb blondes in popular culture will say. And of course they have all races and all hair colors, right? These dumb bubblegum chewing, oh, he bought me this nice thing type of bitch. We have the geeky, educated idiot, conformist, controlled opposition, college educated type of bitch. And then we have the embrace evil with an extreme complex type of rich bitch. These are the three main categories. Is there anything I'm missing?
No, I think you need to make it clear to the females that you don't mean these kind of malicious words to them. You're just trying to enlighten them to actually realize that, they need to follow the true spirit rather than materialism and evil. And that's that's the message you're trying to convey to the people, to the women, the attractive women, that they need to follow heart instead of somebody who isn't going to give them true love. It's all going to be based on materialism and falsehood.
All right, so when we look at the word repent, right? The T is the feminine suffix. Reap on. You reap what you sow. Sow the true spirit of Ra's called center on, Heliopolis, reap on. So, when I really think about this and I look at this thing, yes, this has been happening to me because my dad made a lot of people pale in comparison. I mean, who is like he? You met him, right?
Yes, I did.
I can get a little closer to the camera. So you met my father, okay? Does he come? Well, describe him to the viewers.
He's a very intelligent and calm, well-focused, intelligent man who has a lot of insight about universal things. He told me about his experience, how he was involved with the war and how he was in Nigeria and how he was escaping from brutality, and it was almost like he was a part of some form of operation that he had to follow, an agenda. So I know that the CIA were involved and they helped him, come to the States and develop a career. But it all seems almost influenced, and I don't know, it just seems a bit of a power play situation with his, he's a very humble and giving man. Both Chukwu's parents are very, very giving people, very caring to society. Considering they're both doctors, they don't, one would think that they'd be living in luxury, but they don't seem to be, it's almost like they've given their money away in charity to people, and they live in a very simple way, considering, which is very, very unusual considering the circumstances.
And they're both doctors.
Yeah, just like I said, they're both doctors, and one wouldn't go to your house and think, okay, these are people who are doctors, and their wealth is reflected in their lives, their education is reflected in their lifestyle. No, because they're very, very giving, and they're very considerate of other people's struggles, to be fair. And I just feel like they've been cheated as well. That obviously has a knock-on effect. It's very strange. It's too much of a coincidence, to be honest, that Chukwu was targeted like this. I almost believe that his father was also targeted, but he's now conformed to what they believe is the right way, and that's what they're trying to do with Chukwu. It's just a matter of time. He's kind of been pushed in a corner where it's becoming more and more difficult every day for him. And it's kind of sad to see, almost painful to see that he can't go out, he can't live life like we do, he's very isolated, and he still keeps spirit. I mean, time and time again, he makes these videos for all of us to connect with God and to follow his message. But if it was somebody else, I don't think that they would have that spirit, the strong spirit and the connection with God. They would have just given up a long time ago, given the persecution and the drugging and the gang stalking. It's just way too much.
Here, about 2 minutes. So real quickly, who would you say is more successful, Bill Gates and my father, when you consider obstacles, and why?
I would say definitely, obviously, Bill Gates.
No, in terms of, not necessarily in terms of success and money, but in terms of life and wisdom. And
I see. By far your father. He's very cultured. He can speak several languages. He's very educated and very wise. I mean, he'll always give you, when I spent about 10 minutes with him, and he gave me, some thoughts about wisdom, and it's almost like he gives you gifts with words. And that's something that's very rare. It's rewarding and it's very rare.
So we hear Bill Gates, and he's with the eugenic crowd. His father was the president of Planned Parenthood, So, we see that, bad trees tend to produce bad fruit, and good trees tend to produce good fruit.
Yeah, but he's come from more of a privileged background, even though your father may have come from a privileged background.
No, he didn't come from a privileged background.
So it's very different. The comparison is very different. Your father coming from somewhere that is, a deprived country, to making himself into a highly, a very highly respected person, through becoming a neurologist.
Yeah, so a neurosurgeon. So we're almost out of time, so just real quickly, can you see how somebody who cultivated the spirit of righteousness coming from this family is deeply moral, has a deep moral outrage, and this is what you would expect in this society?
Yes, I can. Yeah.
All right.